Welcome, and thank you everybody for attending today's session on Adaptive Solutions Managed Service Offering. My name is Chuck Davis. I'm the president and one of the co-founding shareholders of Adaptive, and I'll be your host this afternoon. Also joining me will be our presenter today, Adam Doblow. Adam is our Chief Information Officer and heads up the direction and management of our Cloud Services division here at Adaptive, specifically our managed service offerings, which we'll be discussing on today's session, and also our legal hosted desktop service Onboard. Adam's been in the legal IT industry for over 20 years and was a former in-house IT director at a couple of very large Philadelphia law firms. I'm sure he'll provide us a lot of value and insight in his presentation today. Just a couple of few housekeeping items before we get started. First, the phone lines are muted for today's session other than the presenters in order to keep the presentation moving forward. Should you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to submit them in the GoToMeeting question or chat panel on the right-hand side of your screen. And in being respectful of your time, we're planning to run right around 30 minutes with the goal of wrapping up close to 2:30 p.m. this afternoon. And finally, there will be a drawing at the end of today's session for a lucky winner who will win a $100 Amex Express gift card. We'll announce that name at the end of the session. So let's go ahead and begin. Adam, could you please advance the slide to the first one? Great. So a little bit about us, for those of you that are not familiar with Adaptive Solutions as a company. We are a leading provider of legal-specific technology services. Our company was founded back in 1998, and we're proud to be celebrating about 16 years in business this year. Currently, our firm consists of approximately 55 employees, and we have a very strong focus in the Mid-Atlantic region of the U.S. However, we have provided IT services and support to over 350 law firms and several corporate legal departments, both nationally and internationally over the years. Much like the law firms that we support, our business has 5 key practice areas as listed on this slide. The first one is MSP, or Managed Service, which is the cornerstone of today's presentation. The second is hosted desktop, what we call Onboard, which is an outsourced option for firms which have made the decision to eliminate technology and move completely to the cloud. The next option is our traditional help desk, our traditional network support service, where we do projects, network support, and ongoing support on a more traditional basis, what people have been doing for a long time. We also provide help desk services, and in our world we refer to this is a 24/7, around-the-clock, legal-specific, and remote service, which we've been doing now for about 10 years. By the way, as you move through this session, be on the lookout for our upcoming sessions, as the next one in November will specifically be focused on our help desk offerings. And finally, we really couldn't be a legal-specific provider without enterprise content management, which we formerly called ECM. We've been a longtime partner of HP Autonomy, and we've been there through the products such as Soft Solutions and Docs Open, and we've been doing this for quite some time. Our firm is a capable and trusted partner to our clients. In order to provide our clients with what we consider to be the best-of-breed services, we need to maintain strong partnerships with our business partners. Some of them are listed here, such as Microsoft, Citrix, and VMware, just to name a couple few. We're also a partner with legal-specific associations, such as the ALA and ILTA, and we do that to maintain connectivity to the industry buzz and to give back in the form of education and community service events. So enough about Adaptive. Let's jump into today's session and learn a little bit more about how the support of legal IT systems has been shifting from what we refer to as a more traditional reactive model to a much more safer and predictable proactive model. The goal is you can maintain and monitor your systems and address issues before they impact the productivity of your billable attorneys and your business. So with that, I'm going to hand off to Adam and ask him to take us through today's agenda and the core of the presentation. So Adam, over to you, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I see there are some old friends in the room. Looking forward to catching up with you when I come back east again for the holidays. Today's agenda will be, we're going to go over some, just a review of stuff that you probably are already well and truly aware, the challenges that we face in our everyday IT world. Our approach to addressing those challenges, specifically around the MSP option. We'll have a short demo. I don't want to overplay the value of the demo. Hopefully with an MSP that's been correctly configured for you, your interaction with that system will be minimal in terms of looking at screens and reconfiguring. That's why we're here, is to help you with that. Our services, so there are different levels of service that for which you can sign up within an MSP, and we'll go over what those different offerings look like. And then I'll throw it back to Chuck to talk about some next steps and then review our upcoming events. So that's the broad outline. I will try and be as to the point as I can and be respectful of your time. So IT challenges, we really address 5 separate core areas around our IT challenges that we've identified. Unpredictability and costly downtime being the first of these. I don't need to tell any of you the value of an attorney's time in today's world, or the value of all the support staff time. If you have a server that goes down unexpectedly, it will cost you a ton of money. People also, as you well know, get very upset about downtime. Our windows for downtime have shrunk and shrunk and shrunk to the point where now they being attorneys or your staff will give you a window of an hour on Saturday evening every other week, or whatever it happens to be. Obviously that makes your life very difficult. You have very short windows in which to work and very inconvenient windows from your own perspective and your own quality of life. Managing IT costs. We really have to focus on costs much more now than we did in the past. With the recession of 2008 and beyond, money became much more of a big deal around IT. The focus of IT spending moved from the person that's running the IT department into the hands more on the accounting side of things. People want to see value for money out of their IT. It's no longer just an open wallet to do whatever it is we please. So turning those IT costs into operational expenses versus capital expenses is a huge advantage in today's world. Management time, so we want the time and effort of non-technical staff overseeing the problems that fixes. In some cases, we don't have our own internal IT. So unfortunately, as an administrator or a lower level IT person, we may be press-ganged into dealing with IT issues for which we are really not qualified. So we want to reduce the amount of wasted time and let you focus on the job for which you were originally hired. Risk and exposure. This is a huge deal. As we've all seen with zero-day viruses that are out there, unpatched systems, you really open up your firm horribly by falling behind in patching. So you really want to focus on getting security out there. Data loss or theft, you want to make sure that you've got that under control, that you are compliant. There are certainly some practices that if you get way behind in your patching levels or in the way that you have your data separated, etc., you're going to fall out of compliance. So you want to make sure that you are dealing with that, especially with HIPAA being what it is today. And then, of course, interruption of vital IT services. Everybody wants their IT up at all times. And then strategic issues. He said, she said, not being able to truly identify what a problem is. Prior to this, our IT has been, as Chuck said in the opening, a very reactive business. So you really are buying downtime, which is our title here, if you are only looking at your network from a reactive standpoint. You want to be as proactive as possible and avoid a problem before it ever occurs. It's the ounce of prevention being worth a pound of cure. Finally, you want to be able to optimize your systems as best you can, and that's on the prevention side again. So our approach is also, it's 5 points. An assessment phase, an onboarding phase, a management phase, a protection, and an optimization. So assessment is phase 1, where we would sit down and actually look at what you have in your environment. What is it that we need about which we need to be concerned? Are you having issues already? Do you have instability within the system? So first of all, we sit down and figure all that out. We want to go into this this project as organized as we can and with as much visibility. During the onboarding phase, we would then do the initial maintenance activities. So make sure that your initial patching is done, that you're not running into issues. I will tell you that in every installation that we've done so far, we have identified issues within the system of which the administrator was completely unaware. Random XP machines that are still kicking around, not knowing that they have some 2003 servers that are sitting within the environment, so that they're not really in a good shape from a security standpoint by having those exposures within the environment, specifically around XP, way behind in patch levels, so on and so forth. Manage. So we're on the ongoing delivery of monitoring and maintenance designed to keep your business optimized. So with an MSP, your maintenance schedule becomes a no-brainer. We have seen within our implementations serious increases in the amount of uptime that's occurring and the amount of scheduled patching that is occurring. Patching often becomes a hit and miss. I'm busy this month, I really can't get to it, whatever it happens to be. With an MSP or a managed service provider, that becomes a no-brainer. It is completely our issue, and we do not ever say we're too busy. It's always going to be done. You're always going to be compliant, and you're always going to know the outcome. The way that we do our installations, there will be a reference set of servers that we would use as a canary in the coal mine, if you will. So we would patch those servers out and verify that we do not see any issues with those patches. Usually they would be a lower value sort of server. So a server, if there was a bad patch that you saw, that it would not severely impact the business. So you're going to have much greater compliance around patching. Protection. So with all of these systems, we would include virus protection and obviously patching, as I said, so you know that your investment is protected and that the server is protected. Finally, optimization. Optimization comes from knowledge, and with this system, you're going to have a lot more knowledge. So we can identify up front, hey, you've got a driver that's causing a problem, that's causing throughput issues, it's causing high utilization, whatever it happens to be. So we're going to be able to have a lot more flexibility into a system. You're also going to be able to very quickly ascertain if you have a severely underutilized resource or overutilized, and be able to move stuff around to maximize the investment that you have. You know, if you don't need to go out and buy a new server because you can move something, you're going to have much greater and easier visibility into that. So that's kind of the overview of that system. How does a rollout actually work? One of the big concerns that a lot of people would have if you are rolling a new system into their environment is, what is the impact on my day-to-day? You know, is this thing, and this has been a very big issue, excuse me, with antivirus, is that you put it on your server and suddenly your server behaves horribly. Obviously, that is not something you want to see if you're installing a system that's supposed to be increasing the reliability. So here's the process that we follow. We do that, as I mentioned, an initial discovery call to review the client, your environment, and to discuss, you know, where are you having your issues in your environment? Is it Exchange, or do you just want to get out of the patching business? We then deploy a probe into your environment, and that probe uses a services account. And with that probe, we then do an assay of your environment and figure out what is it that you have in your environment. At that point, the probe comes back with a list of all of your servers. We can then deploy agents to those servers. Those agents are the brains, I guess, or behind the system. They do not require a reboot, and they add zero overhead. We've done plenty of troubleshooting with servers where people said, oh, I'm worried that the enable agent has caused an issue on this server. We've removed the agent. It is never the enable agent. We have hundreds and hundreds of servers that are covered by this system and have no issues around the enable agent causing any problems, or the antivirus agent either. And enable itself, which Chuck may not have mentioned, we are using the enable system, which is SolarWinds platform. So it's a very well-known platform. They have millions of servers, and they are not seeing these issues. So you're not causing instability within your network with this rollout. Once we've assayed the environment and gotten back all of the data, we then sit with you and go over all of the servers. We're well aware that all servers are not created equal. Your file server and your Exchange server, your DM server are much more valuable to you than, I don't know, let's say your Bez server potentially, or a utility server that's just sitting there holding archive data or whatever it happens to be. So you may not want to put the same levels of coverage around one box versus another. There's certainly a cost differential between those, so we would like to vary what it is that we're doing with those boxes. We do that in consultation with you and figure out what is the best mix of coverage that you would want on your boxes. Okay, we're at the demo section. So we'll do a quick demo of the system and just show you what it is that the interface looks like. As I mentioned earlier, this isn't something that I would necessarily expect that you would want to do as an administrator. It will vary based on the internal IT resources that you have available and your own interest. If you are simply an administrator of a firm, you wouldn't want to come in here and look at this interface. You really don't care. It's because you're getting notifications of problems by other methods, or you may just not be wanting notifications. You're saying this is adaptive, this is your issue, you take care of it. But if you did want to come in, there is a custom interface for every single client that has just their service displayed to them. So you have the option of logging in and seeing what's going on with the devices that you have covered by this service. By default, when we come in, well, we've set up a filter, so we see the active issues within our environment. Our environment we actually have a lot more servers than this, but if we were looking at active issues, we have different levels of issues. As you can see, I've got some servers with some warnings, and then I have some servers with some actual issues. I've set criteria, or one of my people actually has set criteria around which, if it gets beyond a certain threshold, you will get notified. So you're not getting a bunch of false positives. We work very assiduously to make sure that you and we are not being pummeled with false positives, which has been an issue around monitoring prior to this. So we're continually working with you to make sure that you're getting just the information you need rather than information overload. Another value is that, as we may have discussed, the management of patches and management of antivirus. In a really quick view, you get to see where are we with our patches and antivirus. One of the things that I haven't mentioned to this point is that another nice thing about Enable is that you don't just have to manage your internal devices. If you have attorneys out on the road who may not come back to the office very often, who may have sensitive data on their hard drives, you would want them to make sure that those machines were patched and antivirused, and you would want it to be a really simple, hands-off sort of approach. You can also install an Enable agent directly onto those laptops. In this case, this is the laptop of one of our employees here. It's actually Keith who runs the MSP from a technical standpoint, and he has antivirus and anti-patch, and patch installed on his machine so that we can make sure that that machine is up to date at all times. And we also have the ability to control that machine remotely. So from a help desk perspective, if you are, if you have an internal help desk or need, you can control that machine remotely also via this system. The end user, you can set up their requirement that they would have to give you the okay to manage the box, etc. But it gives you a lot of additional functionality around remote access, etc. for support standpoint. So all of these little dashboards exist, so we can go and look at the patch status or the virus status of a machine. This is all in read-only mode because I'm set up just as a viewer of this. The main point of the MSP, as I've mentioned, is trying to get a lot of this off your plate. Okay, so we've spoken about all of the tools that are available to you. Let's go on and talk about the services. So the tools underpin the service that we're discussing today. So the service comes in essentially 3 separate flavors. Adaptive Essentials is the first of these. Adaptive Essentials is most applicable to someone that has a large internal IT staff or who feels extremely comfortable with dealing with IT issues. This is essentially a monitor-only service. So all of the monitoring that we've discussed, monitoring of CPU, monitoring of hard disk space, whatever it happens to be on servers, is complete. And when there's an issue, you are simply sent a notification, and those notifications can be via email, via text, whatever it happens to be. Around support, obviously, we are a full-service firm, so we're very capable and willing to assist in any of the problems that you may be unable to solve yourself. So we can provide on-site and remote assistance. We have competitive hourly rates. I'm feeling like a salesperson. And you obviously discounted blocks available. So a lot of you are already clients, so you're enjoying these currently. So you have, with this service, you also have access to our NOC engineers. I will tell you that if you have a lot of virtualization going on in your environment, our NOC engineers are extremely good with any sort of virtualization issues that you may be seeing, and especially around the VDI, etc. So some really high quality resources are available to you. Also getting regular asset, network health, and warranty reporting, because we can capture all of that data through the Enable product, and advanced diagnostics. So if you run into an issue with, I'm having a problem on a specific box, we have the ability to help you diagnose that very well with the enabled tools. Adaptive Proactive. So the Adaptive Proactive is essentially, or not even essentially, it is in fact using the exact same tools, and the main difference with a proactive is going to be that we're doing patching automatically. We're also getting the notifications of issues or errors. In the Essentials mode, notification of problems would be coming directly to you or your designated IT staff. We would not be getting those notifications. Within the proactive world, we also receive the notifications. I know that on the screen it's rather small. You will be getting a copy of this presentation following the presentation, so you can read through it. Any work, we sit down with you at the, as I said, on the ingestion or the startup phase, and we look at these servers and say, if there's a proactive server that you have, if something occurs at 2 o'clock in the morning, do you want me fixing it automatically and then telling you about it in the morning, or do you want me waking you up? So we have those protocols in place around proactive. Fully managed is the fully fixed fee IT outsourcing. So with a fully managed server, you say, Adaptive, take this server and make sure that it stays in good shape. I don't want to hear any more about it. So you have a fixed fee every month, and the entire responsibility for that for that server is handed off to us as your provider. There's a huge value in that because you know exactly what that server is going to cost you every month. And if there's a problem with that server, it isn't your problem to figure out how to get it back up and running. It's our problem to do that. We feel that there's a huge value in this for you in terms of just getting out of the IT business. And it doesn't have to be an all or nothing, as you'll see in the slide after next. I'll speak about that some more. And then a la carte gives you the option of pulling certain things. I don't want you to monitor my machines, but I want you to patch all of my machines by default. We can set up those. You have the choice of choosing just certain features, antivirus, anti-spam, patching, whatever it happens to be, or just monitoring and handling it, your antivirus or patching through your own internal systems. So just to review again, so every option is providing you with the same exhaustive, proactive monitoring of the environment. So the difference between each of these is about the alerts. Adaptive Essentials, monitoring is established and alerts are routed directly to your in-house team. This is great if you have a competent and large enough in-house team that doesn't mind getting alerts in the middle of the night and working on that. Adaptive Proactive, our team is also receiving the alerts and reacting based on the pre-established protocols. We sit down, we go through each of the servers and say, if there's an issue with this server during regular business hours, how would you like us to deal with it? Outside of normal business hours, how would you like us to deal with it? Adaptive Managed, our team receives the alerts and simply fixes the issue. This isn't to say that you're not also welcome to receive those alerts, but the responsibility for the fixing is moved off of your plate and onto ours. Remember, not all servers are created equal, so you may utilize all three of these services across your environment. Certain servers, you don't want them fully managed, you just want them to be proactively managed. Certain servers you may not want managed at all, so you can combine these three things in an effective way. With that, I think I am handing it back to you, Chuck. Thank you, everybody, for attending today.
Thank you, Adam. Nice job on taking us through the Adaptive Managed Product Suite. So if you heard something today on today's presentation that resonates with you, or your role within the firm is that of IT director or administrator, your needs might be different. And what next steps might look like if you have an interest in MSP, step one in our world would be selecting the appropriate services. As Adam mentioned, there are essentially three tiers of service. There is the essential monitoring, there's the proactive, which is doing the patches and doing the antivirus, and then there's the fully managed. A good example might be if you're a firm admin, you're looking more at proactive or fully managed. If you're an IT director at a firm or you have a staff, essentials make sense to you. So we pick and choose. And at the end of the day, it could even come up to a hybrid solution where a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Maybe you just want your desktops handled and you're totally comfortable with your server pieces. Once the selection of services is established, we move into what Adam discussed as the technical assessment, where we drop in that lightweight probe, we interrogate the environment, we come up with a list of assets, and we determine what are the important components, what servers need to be protected, and to what level. And after that's complete, we can sit down and develop what we would call a solutions proposal. It's typically based on a monthly fee. It's built around a one-year term. And what we're essentially doing here is we're shifting your IT spend and spending less dollars on the day-to-day reactive support and moving those dollars into a more proactive and predictable model. We all know that once downtime is hit, it's not good for the administrator, the IT director. It certainly isn't good for the vendor. I mean, anything that has a plug on it, we're responsible for it if we're IT people, right? So we want to make sure that we see these things before they happen. A great example is we live in the 20th century. We can see superstorms. We can see hurricanes. We can move people out of the way before damage happens. If we could do that with your network, the cost savings that the firm can realize could just be absolutely tremendous. Adam, can you jump to the next slide, please? I think the next one we have is just a quick stop for questions for a Q&A session. I'll remind everyone that if you do have a question you'd like to answer, on the GoToMeeting panel on the side there is a questions tab. you can quickly type that question in, and Adam and I will pause here for a second or two and do our best to answer any Q&A that comes up. And it actually looks like we are getting one in, Adam. Someone's asking how long it takes to deploy an MSP solution. Can you maybe give some feedback on that?
Yeah, the actual implementation is going to be based on the size of the environment. In a mid-sized firm where you would have 15 to 20 servers, it really is very rapid. We can go through the discovery, implementation, and rollout process within a matter of 4 to 5 days. In a much larger environment, and we have those as well, we can that could spread to a couple of weeks or more. The big issue that we want to make sure is that we go through with the client and truly understand what it is that they need to cover for each server, and also to understand what it is that they'd like to see out of their error reporting as well. What are some specifics? For example, you may want to see a lot more out of an interwoven environment than you would out of a regular file server. So we want to make sure that we understand the needs of the firm and react appropriately.
Great, thank you. While you were talking, Adam, one more came in. I think we spoke a lot about servers and desktops. Someone's asking about monitoring of internet firewalls and internet bandwidth. Can our product handle that?
Yeah, absolutely. Any sort of device can be, and we have Keith who can correct me, but any sort of device can be monitored. We're also ESXi servers, so down at that level we can also monitor. There are specific criteria for which we can monitor on those devices also.
All right, and
I would only add this.
I'm sorry, Keith.
Any device that can speak SNMP.
Right. Sorry.
Yep. That's all.
And there's one more item that came in. They would like to know if there's a cost associated with the assessment of the network to help determine the monthly cost and the per device cost.
No, we can actually deploy lightweight probe into the environment and do an assessment of the environment at no charge at all. This is actually a great tool. Just I hate to give away services, obviously, but this is a great tool to have a quick look at your environment and see if you've got any problems there.
All right, great. I'm going to be respectful of time and keep us moving on. If you could jump to the next slide. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. The next one should be a quick, brief schedule of the upcoming webinar agenda for Adaptive. We are committed to continuing to push out educational information to the legal community. As I mentioned earlier, November 25th of this month will be our help desk webinar. As we move into the holidays, we'll be doing a little bit in December on blended learning. Some of the cool new things that people just don't learn in the classroom anymore. Distance learning and hybrid learning models are new to the market, and we're having products and services that make that a little easier for law firms to deliver education. And as we wrap up the year, we're going to talk a little bit more about virtual desktops and also our Your Docs template package. The package has been out there. We are just about ready to launch our numbering suite for that package. So lots of good stuff to talk about that if you're looking for a lightweight, cost-effective document template package. And then you guys can read yourself on the January upcoming events. I'm not going to belabor those points. So Adam, I'm going to let you jump to the next slide, which I think is the contact us slide, if I recall.
Correct.
So we're going to leave this up here for a little while. I think most of the folks on the webinar know how to reach Adam or myself, but our phone numbers and our emails are here, as well as Adaptive's website and blog presence. Please feel free to look at those things. And of course, the most important part of the session is finding out who is today's lucky winner on the Amex card drawing. So one of the cool things about being a panelist is I get to see all the people that attended, and while Adam was taking you through, I wrote everybody's name down, put them into a hat, so we're going to shake the hat up and pick out one lucky winner for the Amex card just in time to buy your Thanksgiving holiday dinner, right? And today's winner is Frank Schipani at Gilbert LLP down in Washington, D.C. Frank, thanks for attending. We will be in touch with you after today's session to find out if you want that card mailed to the firm or mailed to your home address. No problem either way. So with that, I'm going to ask you, Adam, to advance us. I think we're at the last slide,
We
right?
are indeed. That is the last slide.
So on behalf of Adam, myself, everyone at Adaptive, to our clients and prospective clients that joined us today, we would really like to thank you for giving us a couple of minutes Hopefully you learned a little bit something new today about how supportive infrastructure and technology is changing and how MSPs can really make a difference in your firm. So we're going to sign off, and we appreciate your time, and have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Mm-hmm.